Every situation in life, whether it's filled with joy, sorrow, success, or struggle, eventually comes to an end. Nothing is permanent, yet most of our stress comes from our inability to accept this simple truth. When something good happens, we get attached to it, hoping it will stay forever. When something painful occurs, we get consumed by the fear that it will never go away. But the nature of life is change. Everything moves, everything shifts, everything evolves. The moment we truly understand this, peace begins to take root in our hearts. Think about the seasons of nature. After every harsh winter comes a spring filled with new life. The trees that looked barren come back to life with color and fragrance. The birds that flew away return with songs. Similarly, when life feels cold and empty, it's not a sign that everything is over. It's a signal that something new is preparing to bloom. Yet in our impatience, we assume the winter will never end. We forget that just as the sun rises after every night, our circumstances too change with time. No storm, no matter how strong, has ever lasted forever. When you look back on your life, you'll notice that the problems that once felt impossible eventually faded away. The heartbreak that broke you once doesn't hurt as deeply anymore. The loss that made you cry for nights no longer controls your peace. The worries that kept you awake eventually disappeared, replaced by new experiences and new lessons. This is the rhythm of life. Pain and pleasure, gain and loss, rise and fall, all are temporary visitors. The only thing that stays is you, the soul witnessing it all. But we often forget this perspective. We believe that our current state, whether happiness or sadness, defines our life permanently. When we are successful, we assume it will last forever and become proud. When we fail, we assume we'll never recover and become hopeless. Both are illusions. Success and failure are merely phases of a journey, not the destination. If we can train our mind to see both as temporary, we can remain steady no matter what comes our way. It's like sitting on the shore, watching waves rise and fall. Some are tall and majestic, others crash quickly and vanish. But the ocean remains the same. Our emotions, challenges, and achievements are those waves constantly changing. The problem is, we try to cling to the waves instead of anchoring ourselves in the ocean. We attach our happiness to things that come and go, and that attachment becomes the source of suffering. When you understand impermanence, you learn to live with balance. You start enjoying the good moments deeply, knowing they're gifts, not guarantees. You also start handling the bad moments wisely, knowing they're tests, not punishments. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start saying, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift in mindset changes everything, because when you know that both joy and pain are temporary, you stop reacting in fear and start responding with grace. Let's take a simple example. Imagine being stuck in traffic on a hot day. You get frustrated, you honk, you fume, but eventually the traffic clears. The moment passes. Now think of a deeper example, losing someone, failing an exam, or facing rejection. At that time the pain feels unbearable, but with days, weeks, or months, the intensity fades. That's the power of time. It softens even the hardest edges of suffering. So why burden your heart with stress over something that time will heal? Understanding the temporary nature of everything also brings humility. When we're at the top, it reminds us to stay kind, because success is fragile. When we're at the bottom, it gives us hope, because no difficulty is forever. Both humility and hope are born from this wisdom. A wise person celebrates without attachment and endures without resistance. So, whenever life feels heavy, whisper to yourself, "This is temporary." When things go wrong, remind yourself, "This moment will pass." When things go right, remind yourself again, "This moment will pass." Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Because when you live with this understanding, you free yourself from extremes. You stop being controlled by emotions and start being guided by wisdom. In the end, peace is not found in avoiding change, it's found in embracing it. When you accept that every situation, good or bad, eventually passes, you stop clinging to what was and fearing what will be. You start living fully in what is. That is where true calmness resides. So, don't stress over what's fading and don't chase what's leaving. Every situation is temporary, but the lessons it leaves behind those stay with you forever. Your perspective shapes your peace. Two people can face the same situation, but experience it completely differently. One sees a problem, the other sees a lesson. One feels trapped, the other sees a season that will soon change. Life is not determined by what happens to us, but by how we interpret what happens. The same rain that ruins one person's plans nourishes another person's field. So, the question is not whether challenges will come. They will. The real question is how you choose to see them. If you can see challenges as temporary seasons rather than permanent punishments, your stress begins to lose its grip on you. When difficulties arise, the mind immediately wants to label them as disasters. We think, "This is the end. My life will never be the same." But if you pause, breathe, and look deeper, you'll see that every difficult situation has a purpose. It's a teacher disguised as a trial. Seasons of hardship are not meant to destroy you. They are meant to refine you. Every tree that stands tall today has endured storms that once threatened to uproot it. The roots went deeper because of those storms. Similarly, when you go through tough times, your character deepens, your patience strengthens, and your wisdom grows. The problem is that we often expect life to be a straight, smooth road. We want success without struggle, growth without discomfort, and progress without pain. But life doesn't work that way. Growth requires friction, just like a seed must break before it can sprout. The pressure you feel now may be life's way of preparing you for something greater. When you start seeing challenges as temporary seasons of transformation, you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is life trying to make me become?" That single shift in perspective turns pain into purpose. Think of life like the weather. There are sunny days and stormy ones, but no matter how dark the sky gets, you know deep down that it won't rain forever. The clouds will clear, the light will return, and the cycle will continue. In the same way, when life feels cloudy, you must remind yourself, this is just a passing season. When you internalize that truth, you stop panicking during the storm. You learn to take shelter in patience and faith instead of fear and frustration. Perspective is what keeps you steady when everything else feels uncertain. If you see challenges as punishment, you'll suffer. But if you see them as preparation, you'll grow. It's the same situation, only a different mindset. The truth is, stress doesn't come from problems, it comes from our attachment to how things should be. We want life to follow our plan, we want people to behave as we expect, but when life moves differently, we resist it, and that resistance becomes suffering. The moment you accept life as it is changing, uncertain, unpredictable, you start to experience peace, even in chaos. There's a story about two farmers who experienced a drought. One spent his days cursing the sky, saying, "Why is this happening to me?" The other farmer woke up early every day and prepared his land, saying, "When the rain comes, I will be ready." When the rain finally arrived, only one of them had a field ready to grow. The difference wasn't in the weather, it was in their perspective. One saw drought as despair, the other saw it as delay. Similarly, when we face dry phases in life, we can either waste them in frustration or use them to prepare for what's next. Your perspective also determines the energy you give out. If you carry a victim mindset, life starts to feel heavier. Every small inconvenience becomes a tragedy, but when you adopt a learner's mindset, even pain becomes meaningful. You begin to say, "This is shaping me. This is teaching me something I wouldn't learn otherwise." And that awareness turns suffering into strength. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves that everything we're experiencing right now is temporary. Just like night gives way to morning, your current phase will give way to something new. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen. So instead of focusing on how hard life is, start focusing on what it's revealing within you. Are you becoming more patient, more grateful, more resilient? That's where real progress lies. Peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of perspective. When your mind understands that challenges are seasons, you stop being consumed by them. You start observing them with calmness, knowing that life will eventually turn the page. Stress fades when you realize that you don't need to fix every storm. You just need to endure it with wisdom. Because after every storm, the air feels clearer, the ground feels fresher, and the soul feels lighter. So, the next time life tests you, take a step back and whisper to yourself, "This is just a season. It will change just as all seasons do." Don't lose your peace over something that's passing. What feels like an ending today might simply be the beginning of a new chapter. And when that new season comes, you'll understand that the challenge wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build the vision you needed to see life from a higher place. Patience and faith are two of the strongest pillars that can hold a person steady during life's storms. Without them, even the smallest waves can shake us. With them, even the wildest oceans can't drown us. Life is full of moments that test our strength, moments where things don't go as planned, where people disappoint us, where the timing feels cruel, and where the path forward seems invisible. In such times, the natural tendency of the mind is to panic, to question, and to doubt. But when we cultivate patience and faith, we learn to pause instead of panic, to trust instead of tremble. We begin to understand that what is meant for us will come in its own time, and what is not meant to stay will leave, no matter how tightly we hold on. Patience is not about waiting passively, it's about waiting with calm understanding. It's about knowing that the seed you planted won't bloom the next day, but if you keep watering it, one day it will. The world today is in a rush. We want instant results, quick rewards, fast answers, but life doesn't follow that pace. Growth takes time, healing takes time. Even the sunrise waits for the night to pass before it paints the sky. When we forget this rhythm, stress takes over. We start doubting the process. We start believing that delays mean denials. But delay is not denial, it's preparation. The universe works on timing that is perfect, even if we cannot see it in the moment. Imagine a caterpillar inside its cocoon. If it breaks out too early, it dies. The struggle to emerge at the right time is what strengthens its wings. Similarly, every delay in life is like that cocoon phase. The struggle is not there to punish you, it's strengthening you for what's coming next. But without patience, you may tear the cocoon before your wings are ready. When you learn to trust the process, you start realizing that even your waiting time is working in your favor. Faith goes hand in hand with patience. It's the quiet belief that even when you cannot see the entire picture, the artist still knows what he's painting. There are moments when life feels unfair, when prayers seem unanswered, and when hope feels like a burden. It's in these moments that faith becomes your anchor. Faith doesn't mean everything will always go your way. It means you believe that whatever happens will somehow lead to your growth. When things don't go as you planned, faith whispers, "There's a higher plan." When people walk away, faith says, "They were not meant to stay." When you lose something you loved, faith reminds you something better is on its way. But faith is not blind. It is built through experience, through all those times when you thought you couldn't go on but somehow did, through those nights when you cried and still woke up to a new morning. Every challenge you've survived is proof that life continues to take care of you, even when you can't see. How? That's the power of faith. It connects you to something bigger than your temporary pain. There's a story of a farmer who once found that his horse had run away. His neighbors came to sympathize and said, "What bad luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned with several wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "What good luck." The farmer said again, "Maybe." A few days later, his son broke his leg while trying to tame one of those wild horses. The neighbors said, "What terrible luck." The farmer calmly said, "Maybe." A week later, soldiers came to recruit all the young men for war, but because his son was injured, he was spared. The farmer simply smiled. The story reminds us that we often judge life too quickly. What looks bad today may turn into a blessing tomorrow. Patience and faith allow us to stay peaceful in uncertainty, trusting that everything is unfolding as it should. Stress is often born from the desire to control outcomes. We want guarantees. We want to know when and how things will happen. But life is not a contract, it's a mystery. And that's why patience and faith are so essential. They allow you to breathe even when you don't have answers. They allow you to live peacefully in the middle of unanswered questions. When you learn to trust time and trust life, you realize that everything comes together at the right moment, in the right way. Sometimes you'll find yourself walking through a dark tunnel. You may not see the end, but if you keep moving, step by step, you'll eventually find light. The key is to keep walking with patience and faith. Don't let the darkness convince you that light has stopped existing. It's still there, waiting for you to reach it. So, whenever you face a storm, remember this: you don't need to see the entire ocean to trust that the waves will settle. You don't need to see the sunrise to know that the night won't last forever. Just stay steady, keep your patience alive and your faith strong. Life has its own timing, and it never fails to bring the right things at the right moment. When you master patience and faith, you master peace, because no matter how wild the storm gets, you'll always know it will pass, and when it does, you'll emerge wiser, calmer, and stronger than before. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning to let go of control. We spend so much of our energy trying to control outcomes, people, and circumstances, believing that if we just work hard enough, plan carefully enough, or worry deeply enough, everything will turn out exactly as we want. But life doesn't follow our schedule. It unfolds in its own mysterious rhythm. The more we cling to control, the more we suffer when things don't go our way. True peace comes not from controlling life, but from flowing with it. When we shift our focus from control to growth, life becomes much lighter. We begin to understand that what's meant for us will find its way, no matter how far it seems. Think about a river. It doesn't struggle to reach the ocean. It simply keeps flowing, trusting that every bend, every rock, and every obstacle is part of its journey. If the river stopped every time it met a rock, it would never reach its destination. But it doesn't fight, it flows around it. In the same way, life constantly places obstacles in our path not to stop us, but to shape our direction. When we stop resisting every challenge and start learning from it, we begin to grow. The truth is, growth is the reward of surrender. Control makes you rigid, growth makes you wise. When we try to control everything, we often end up controlling nothing. You can't control what people think about you, how they behave, or how they respond. You can't control timing, luck, or destiny, but you can control your attitude, your effort, and your response. That's where real strength lies. Many people waste years of their life trying to fix others or rewrite the past instead of working on their own growth. The moment you turn your focus inward, life starts to change. You realize that peace doesn't come from changing others. It comes from transforming yourself. There's a quiet freedom that comes from surrender. It doesn't mean you stop trying or give up responsibility. It means you do your best and then trust the rest. You plant the seed, water it daily, but you don't dig it up every hour to see if it's growing. You trust that nature is doing its work underground. In the same way, once you've done your part in life, have faith that life will do its part too. Constant worry doesn't speed up the process, it only drains your spirit. When you learn to let go, you make room for peace to enter. Sometimes we cling so tightly to our plans that we miss the better path life is trying to show us. When something doesn't go as you hoped, when an opportunity slips away or a relationship ends, it's easy to think life is being unfair, but often it's protection disguised as rejection. Life is not taking from you, it's redirecting you. What's truly meant for you won't require you to beg, chase, or compromise your peace. It will flow naturally into your life when you are ready to receive it. Letting go of control also means letting go of timelines. We all have silent clocks in our minds when we should succeed, when we should find love, when we should be settled. But those clocks are man-made illusions. Life doesn't follow your deadlines. It follows divine timing. Sometimes the waiting period feels endless, but it's in those waiting seasons that life prepares you for what's next. The experiences, disappointments, and delays are shaping your maturity, refining your patience, and polishing your character. When the right moment comes, everything will align effortlessly, and you'll realize why it had to take that long. It's important to remember that growth is not always visible. Just because something isn't happening outwardly doesn't mean progress isn't happening inwardly. A seed grows roots long before it grows leaves. Similarly, you may not see results yet, but the inner transformation is taking place. Trust that process. Every challenge, every delay, every no is contributing to the person you're becoming. Sometimes life removes what you thought you needed to make space for what you truly need. That's why you must not hold on too tightly to what's leaving. It takes strength to walk away from what's comfortable, but that courage is the very thing that allows growth to happen. When you surrender to life, you stop fighting the flow and start moving with it. You start saying, I may not understand now, but I trust that one day it will make sense. That kind of faith brings peace even when circumstances don't change immediately. Growth is not about having everything under control. It's about learning from everything that happens. It's about becoming wiser, calmer, and kinder with every experience. When you focus on growth instead of control, you stop seeing life as a battle to win and start seeing it as a journey to evolve. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That shift is where transformation begins. So, when you find yourself overwhelmed by uncertainty, breathe and remind yourself, I don't have to control everything. I just have to keep growing. Trust that life is not working against you. It's working for you, even in ways you can't yet see. The things that are meant for you will always find their way, but only when you stop trying to force them. Let go of control, embrace growth, and flow with faith, because peace doesn't come from holding on tightly. It comes from knowing that even if you let go, you won't fall. Life will carry you exactly where you're meant to be.